Good afternoon. On behalf of United Way of the National Capital Area and the entire staff, welcome to Project Community Connect. I'm Stephanie Crane, Director of Community Impact and Engagement. United Way of the National Capital Area expanded its annual Project Homeless Connect in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and to align with its strategic programmatic direction focused on achieving equity for all of our community members, regardless of race, gender, income, and ability. We're excited to work with our partners and community-based organizations on Project Community Connect's mission to build community, shift mindsets through personal experience and connection, and provide critical resources at no cost to individuals and families in Washington, D.C. and surrounding counties in Maryland and Northern Virginia. In this time of COVID, there is no segment of society that has not been touched by this public health crisis, particularly those households who are struggling to afford basic household necessities, which can include childcare, food, transportation, housing, healthcare, and even a basic smartphone plan. In this unprecedented time, and as we all continue to navigate uncertainty, it remains imperative that your United Way provide innovative ways to reach workers and their families throughout the DMV. Today, I'm joined by Heath Carelock from the Financial Empowerment Center at Prince George's Community College to bring you Turn Yourself into a Business, where we're going to discuss how starting a small business doesn't have to be hard. We'll provide advice and share information on how and what steps you need to take to start a small business. If you have questions, please type them in the chat and the Q&A sections, and we'll answer them at the very end of the presentation. It is a pleasure to be here with you today and to bring you this much-needed workshop. And with that, please help me welcome Heath Carelock. Heath is an accredited financial counselor, certified financial coach, and project management professional, and the program director for the Financial Empowerment Center at Prince George's Community College, a United Way of the National Capital Area initiative centrally located in Largo, Maryland. Heath is an alumni of the college and later returned to serve as an adult education instructor for English language learners between his service as a national park ranger in Texas and teaching expeditions to multiple countries abroad, including Vietnam, Iraq, the Palestine West Bank, and Haiti. While earning his Master's of Public Service degree from the Clinton School of Public Service at the University of Arkansas, he studied entrepreneurship and completed an international social entrepreneurship project with Time Magazine's 2008 Hero of the Environment, Jack Sim. Heath is a native of Prince George's County, Maryland, a husband and father of 3. Heath, it is an honor to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for presenting and welcome.
Thank you, Stephanie and United Way, and all of you for joining today. So today's presentation is on how to turn ourselves into a business if we want to. And we're going to learn a lot more along the way about that. Next slide. All right. And so again, turn yourself into a business. We'll come back to this same slide later when we officially start. I'm going to give an overview of the actual Financial Empowerment Center so you understand it as a resource in the community. So we're going to begin today with obviously the introduction, the overview. We're going to do an activity called the Money Habitudes Exercise, the link I've shared, and you all can get going on that if you want. So please go ahead and share that link and commence. And we're also going to do the formal presentation and, of course, questions and comments, engagement, and close. Victoria Saunders and myself, we run the Financial Empowerment Center at Prince George's Community College, a project of the United Way of the National Capital Area. And Victoria's central focus is on the tax front, as well as governing over some of our office issues and matters. Financial Empowerment Center is free. So all of our services, like we said, are on grant, and because of that, we're able to help lift the boats concerning everyone else. So when we talk about the region, the Prince George's community in and of itself, which is local and around the college and within the college, we support members, students, community members, and such. So we focus on improved credit, increased savings, reduced debt, and increased use of financial products. Next slide, please. The services have transformed into a virtual and remote format. We're now located on Chesapeake Hall of Prince George's Community College's campus, and we do in-person work as well, especially in regards to tax preparation. The tax preparation program is the VITA tax program authorized by the United States IRS. And that program allows folks to get their prior taxes done, but the income must be below $57,000. We also do financial coaching on demand, and I'll have that link to you in one moment. And we also do the small business coaching, as well as the credit improvement solutions, as well as the home buying and major purchasing counseling. And we do the financial education workshops on demand as well. So if you say, hey, Mr. Heath, we would like you to come to our community group or our neighborhood association or our PTA or our family reunion. We've done family reunions as well. Please let us know. We would love nothing more than to join you in the work of financial education. You can get at us on social media at us at FEC PGCC on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We also have a website you can go to, pgcc.edu/go/FEC. And for the taxes in particular, you can sign up for the taxes at pgcc.edu/go/tax. Some of our programs, we do have sort of standard tried and true programs. We do a money mindfulness meditation that helps advance folks on a path to clarity, especially in coping with financial situations. And that's very important. That's done in partnership with a psychologist named Dr. Joya Chilton. She's also an art therapist. She's very good at what she does. And she and I collaborated on an incredible project that was an original script, and it gets into the attributes, the mind and mindfulness needed to think clearly about and reflect on where we've been financially as an individual. That same sort of ethic is picked up on in the breakthrough financial storytelling. We use a product of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau called the Money Circle Toolkit. And I believe we were, if not the first entity to do this in group settings as well. And so nationally, we are a leader on the Money Circle Toolkit and its application. And so when we do the breakthrough financial storytelling, next time will be this coming Wednesday, October 27th. And I'll put also in the chat how to sign up for that. Or you can go to our website, pgcc.edu/go/FEC. The next programs that we offer are Build Credit, Crush Debt, where we focus on building credit and crushing debt. One of the biggest obstacles to financial stability is debt. In fact, it's one of the 4 main financial traumas. Financial traumas are things like debt, child poverty, loss of ability to retire, and unemployment. We want to attack debt because debt is a dream killer. It blocks us off from doing things with our money to advance our financial self-efficacy as well as our wealth building ability. We use a platform called Savvy Money, and we also use a resource called a debt snowball calculator. Nothing's more powerful in money and sort of financial stability than knowing what a budget is, knowing what a debt snowball calculator is, and knowing what a compound interest calculator is. These 3 features of money are cornerstones of financial success. We also do a program on life transitions and estate planning. And financial security at the end of life is very important, whether it's due to a disease or some other type of tragedy like a car accident or COVID, or it's due to old age. And so we have programs geared to support individuals on understanding how to transition with that family member. And a lot of us have grandparents or older parents, and we're concerned about what will the financial situation be for the household, for the members? What do we need to know? And so we look at that and explore that. And then finally, we do programs focused on mental health and money. The staff at the Financial Empowerment Center is mental health first aid certified. We do programs routinely throughout the COVID-19 era, especially on mental health and money. I have as a signature program the 19 financial victories to have during COVID-19. And several of those victories have to do with our approach to financial stress. And just knowing a little bit more about how to navigate those waters of financial stress can help us deal with our financial traumas, deal with our changing situations and income, deal with sort of the regrets and guilt maybe over a financial decision. And so we want to put that in proper perspective so that we're able to celebrate joys, create financial goals, and be about the business of financial behavior change. Turn yourself into a business is what you are going to endure today. And so without further ado, I want to get to that presentation. We'll be using Live Plan in part, and I'll try to get to a demonstration of Live Plan. But for now, I wanted you all to be able to complete the bit.ly/FEC-PCC link. That was the money habitudes exercise. And that exercise is going to give you feedback on your attitudes, beliefs, opinions, and behaviors toward money. Because as business owners, one of the most credible things I can tell you is that how you are with your own money will factor into how you present yourself as a business owner. The decisions you make, if you're someone who is spontaneous or carefree, or you're about status and things like that, maybe it's best to get into a situation where you have a business mentor. There are different resources throughout the community and the infrastructure of business development that can support on that front, like this Small Business Administration SCORE program. There are also other programs throughout communities and cities in our region that offer supports to small business owners, both in terms of in locations of higher education, like the University of Maryland or like Prince George's Community College, and throughout Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia and other parts of Maryland. And so that can be very, very important to note. How do I find help when I want to do better? That plays into something called the trans-theoretical model, which looks at pre-contemplative, which looks at 5 stages and steps. The first of which is pre-contemplative. And that's where you say, I wish I could be doing something, or I wish I could do something better, or I wish I was improved in this area, right? Once you start talking like that, that's when you're in a pre-contemplative mode. And that mode can usher in all types of personal change and behavior change. And when it comes to personal finances and business ownership, it's great to be in a place where you're contemplating, hey, I wish things were different, or I wish I knew that. How do I get there? That leads to the next step, which is contemplative. And in that stage, you're thinking about, hey, I need help. And then you ask for help. And then you show up for help, right? So those are separate categories there. I need help, right? Finding help and showing up for help. It makes no use if you make an appointment and aren't able to make it or attend, right? And so you have to show up for help. It makes no use saying, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and never finding the resource that can help you get there, right? So we want to complete that step so that we're actually engaged and revealing ourselves and opening up, and we find somebody to share with that can help us advance on our aspirations. And then in step 3, that's what it's about. It's about building that action plan. But to do that, you have to open up. So don't come to a professional who can help you being closed-minded or closed off. Be open and willing to explore your opportunities, yourself, the marketplace, right? The competition. And we're going to touch on some of that as we go through. And then the 4th step is action, right? Action, actual action. And so to get to the action step from just going, I wish I knew how to do that, is really critical. And there's a lot in play in between that. And so we want to discover that. And today we're going to help you hopefully move from attending here, being sort of pre-contemplative, to getting to a point where, hey, I know where I can open up, who I can open up to, what resources, what I need to do to get going. All right. And so the process today, we're going to explore entrepreneurship in general. We're going to look at business options. We're going to discuss business plans, business structures, capital sources, employees, and their costs. So starting your own business, things you should consider before starting a business. Number one, determine how to start. All right. Determine how to start. And we've talked a little bit about that just now. Creating a business plan. Well, there's actually steps in between determining how to start and creating a business plan. We're going to talk a little bit about that today as well, because a lot of people want to jump to, oh, I want a business. I need a business plan. Well, no, we have to understand functionally what a business plan is. Now, I'm going to ask you a quick question. I want an answer. If you want to put comments in the chat, that's fine as well. So, what is the purpose of a resume? What is the purpose of a resume? Can anyone tell me the purpose of a resume? All right, let's see. Are we going to get some feedback? The purpose of a resume. All right, so is the purpose of a resume to get a job? Is the purpose of a resume to highlight all your best accomplishments? Is the purpose of a resume to keep track of who you are? Well, I'll tell you, the purpose of a resume is to get an interview. That's the purpose of a resume. And the purpose, so understanding the purpose of something, the function of something is very important. So a business plan, the purpose of a business plan is to get funding for your business. It's not to catalog all the things and facets of your business, even though you could use it for that. It's not to sort of do a bunch of research and believe that this is where you warehouse it, even though it could be used for that, right? The purpose of a business plan is to get funding. So when we think about, well, there must be other aspects of the business creation process other than a business plan that are important. And there are. One of the first areas is you should be able to have a business pitch. And your business pitch should be based off of a business model. And so when we work with a business plan is really structured writing, technical writing that helps you arrive at funding. But that's not the only thing that a person should be concerned about. A person should be concerned about their ability to sell their business idea. And that comes with pitch. A person should also be concerned about their ability to determine how the business can function. That's your business model. And so those areas are critical to developing your business plan. So don't jump to trying to write a business plan, which can be extremely overwhelming and stressful, when you should be focused on, hey, what am I actually doing here? What am I actually going to accomplish here? And then beyond that, deciding which business structure makes sense. And so there you have sole proprietorship, you have your LLC, you have your B Corp, C Corp, and different types of business units to structure. And deciding, and maybe it's not even a business you seek. Maybe it's, and even though nonprofits are technically businesses in a way, but maybe you're trying to, your work could be better accomplished in a nonprofit format. And on top of that, maybe you could have a hybrid model where you have a nonprofit that has a business contingent, or a business contingent that has a nonprofit within it, right? And so those two can be related, and you would have to talk with an accountant and a lawyer perhaps to understand better how those two can be related in your business model, right? So that's very important as well. Deciding whether and how to use advisors, right? And so you might have to pay people. They may have to be on your payroll, or there is free mentorship, or there are people who will be willing to give you consultation, perhaps free consultation for a little while. Determining capital needs and capital sources. So how do we actually raise money, right? How do we actually get to invest in businesses and get people to invest in our businesses? So that's also very critical. And then using your home as your office, hiring employees and dealing with their costs. So we'll touch on a little bit of that as well. But these are things you should consider before starting a business. Next slide. All right. Are you an entrepreneur? Let's debunk some myths about entrepreneurship. Myth number one, I am my own boss. I don't have to answer to anyone. How many of us agree with that if we're an entrepreneur? I'm my own boss and I don't have to answer to anyone. Now, the first part of that might be true. Might be true. You might be your own boss. But in terms of answering to anyone, if you want to be your own boss for long, you're going to have to answer to your customers, your clients, and the marketplace, right? The marketplace is going to dictate to you what's popular, what's in, what's out. And so you do have to answer and be responsive and have a risk response type strategy to this. Next slide, please. Running my own business will be a piece of cake. I'll be in control of it all. The reality is the fact that you are in charge means that you have more on your plate. So it won't be a piece of cake. And just as folks saw, even with a 9-to-5 job during the pandemic, people were not working within boundaries at all. People were working intermittently at long, deep hours into the night. They didn't know where work began and where work ended because they didn't have the experience before of working from home or working on their own. So I think it's very important to understand that you'll work harder probably, and you'll work harder because you don't want to fail. And maybe you're more passionate about what you actually have stopped to do for a career. All right, myth number 3, I'm confident that I will start my own business and it'll be easy. Well, most entrepreneurs deliberate over and over about whether or not to start a business. Starting, running, and maintaining a business is not easy. And that's really critical to understand, and not something to pour cold water on and say, don't do this, don't do this. It's doable. Just having this certain approach or disposition towards it, that it'll be easy, is not necessarily going to serve you. So let's view that as well. All right. Evaluating why entrepreneurship interests you. Why does it interest you? And any number on this list, any combination of sorts on this list can be critical to your response. So I want you to take a moment, and I believe you can put into the chat. Can folks put into the chat? Is that possible today? Yes, they can put comments in the chat. Okay, great. So evaluating why entrepreneurship interests you. So I want you to put into the chat your top 1 or 2 responses that are listed here or that you have for yourself. I would read the list first, and if I could co-opt one of these, I would put it. And if yours is unique from this list, then go ahead and put that as well. So put that in the comments for us. All right. Good, good. Some other responses. Go for it. Okay. All right. So, right, you're not happy at your current job. Good, good. So why entrepreneurship interests you can be very, very important. And I feel that being able to find your why is going to be the fuel that you need on your bad days, on the days that seem like, why am I doing this? Why do I care? What's so important about me doing this? So this is your initial why. Now, your why may evolve as you get into months and years of the business, but for your initial kick to start a business, it's like lifting off from a space pad, right? You see all that energy and tenacity in those rockets as they burst into the atmosphere. Well, that's kind of your why. That's what your why looks like to you. So if you said, hey, I am dissatisfied with my current work environment. Well, I'll tell you a quick anecdotal story, right? I'll tell you a quick anecdotal story. One is during a recent government shutdown under the era of the Obama administration and the John Boehner Congress. One of our clients was working for the federal government, making six figures. And she said, if this ever happens again, I will start my own business. She said, if this ever happens again, I will start my own business. And surely, 6 years later, under the Trump, I believe Schumer and Pelosi Congress, the government shut down again. And this time, it caused government workers to miss 2 paychecks in a row. She was still making six figures, but even those people in our region, in Prince George's County, accounts for, I believe, 70,000 people in the federal workforce that go downtown. Missing 2 paychecks in a row, there were people making six figures in the bread line, right? Crippled because they couldn't afford their lifestyle anymore. They were overstretched. And she came to the center and she said, you know what? 6 years ago, I pledged that if there was another government shutdown, I would do something about it and that I would start my own business. Help me start my own business, Heath. And so we took steps to help this woman start her own business because she was dissatisfied with her current work environment and she was looking to expedite her retirement and to move on. So you know your why, and you can shoot out of the gates with your why. It may evolve, but know your why for being there. Next slide, please. Evaluating how your life will change. Now this, if you can get equipped and prepped on this front, this can really help you. So your time, the way you look at time will be very different. Will you wake up earlier? Maybe. Will you go to bed later? Maybe. Will you take naps during the day to be fresh for an evening event or some social or this or that? Maybe. Right? And so how you work time into, even if it's a side hustle. Now, there's great wisdom out there from folks in the business community, the finance community, accounting community, who will tell you, if you have a 9-to-5, don't quit your 9-to-5 to do your business. Not so fast, right? Reap the rewards. The rewards of maintaining a 9-to-5 are very easy to list. Your healthcare is intact, right? Your medical, dental, eye, vision, all of that. So you have plans to support you from your 9-to-5. And then you can do your side hustle there. Now, I did bring a few resources if you wanted to sort of note some of the resources that I use at the center. So this one here is a USA Today publication, Running a Side Business, right? How to create a second income. This one's really good because it goes over how there's no need to quit your day job. Have you ever wanted to try something entrepreneurial but hesitated? Right? So this is telling you, hey, here's how to deal with taxes. Here's how to avoid personal liability. Here's how to run your business from your home. Here's how to create a successful marketing strategy and make money online. So that's a great book to have. I think earlier I went over Robert Kiyosaki, and he has The Business of the 21st Century. So this is another book, and he says, hey, if you want to take charge of your own future, you need your own business. There's some others, and one of the personal finance books that I have, which is, I believe, Start Late, Finish Rich, that went over how the U.S. tax code is actually written for business owners, not employees. So you can still reap the benefit of being a business owner, even with a 9-to-5. But note that the tax code was written for business owners. So the U.S. tax code was written for business owners with all those write-offs and advantages. Why shouldn't that be you? Do it thoughtfully. Do it fully aware of, all of the pitfalls that are out there, and make sure you're good with your documentation and reporting. Don't do anything that's going to get you in any trouble. Evaluating how your life will change. So your sense of personal identity will change. You'll feel more like, hey, this is part of who I am. I make time for my business practice. I make time for what I do. I can't go to this place or that place as much anymore. And I need to have business cards. I need to have some materials, some maybe a website, right? And so your lifestyle changes as well. Personal and business relationships. Based on what your capacity becomes, you may find yourself having friends that become sort of outspoken and supportive that way, who begin to tout your skills and share your skills. Word of mouth is still always, when they do these surveys, word of mouth is still at the top of how business ideas spread. Stress level, another item that's very important. And a lot was done for business owners, maybe not enough, right, Stephanie? Maybe not enough was done for business owners in terms of mental health. Mental health is a serious deal when it comes to business ownership, because you can feel that the walls are closing in on you, that you're not going to be able to conduct this business much longer if you're not getting the sales, or if the business environment changes, or if the marketplace changes, or if there's a pandemic, people change, right? Buying behavior. So it's up to you to create that support system. There's a show on, I believe, Apple TV or Hulu called Couples Therapy, right? And in that show, the lead sort of protagonist in that show is a woman therapist. She works with a bunch of clients who have a bunch of marital or relational problems. And you know what she does? Part of the show is always geared to how she cuts out and goes to see her mentor. And she has these conversations with her mentor, and that mentor feeds her sort of affirmations as well as discouragements. And so as that mentor begins to fold into her decision-making, it's part of her support system that keeps her going the next time she sees these clients. And the same for any other business owner, right? If you run a franchise like Cold Stone, we'll talk about that later. You might look to other franchise owners who've been running one down the street or down, in another county or something like that, who becomes sort of your help on that. If you want to do consultant work, maybe you attend seminars on how to be a better consultant, what you need to do better marketing. And maybe you get the personal relationship touch where the person who's the talent in that seminar becomes your friend, becomes your mentor. You create your support system through your networking skills and through your soft skills. All right, next slide, please. Evaluating financial resources. Becoming an entrepreneur requires lots of investment money. So let's first assess this issue by answering these questions. How much money do you currently, I'm going to read these off and we'll explore some of them. How much money do you currently have? What are the sources of this income? Any current assets, which are liquid and which are illiquid. Now that right there, so some people will be like, what do you mean liquid? So it is sort of metaphorically related to water or other liquid that moves. And so I want you to think, if I had a bottle, and I do, so I'll reach here. If I had a bottle of water and I turn it, the water instantly goes this way. If I hold it sideways and tilt it, the water instantly responds to the gravity there. If this was molasses inside here and I tilted the bottle, nothing would move instantly, right? Nothing would move instantly. Molasses is much more illiquid, right? Molasses is much more illiquid. And so what I want you to think about is your resources and assets that you have in cash that you can just go down to the bank and get right now, and those that are much slower. It might take 3 days, 5 days, a month, right? There are insurance policies that can take lots of wrangling and feedback loops in order to get to that money. There are 401ks and retirement plans and penalties and fees. That's illiquid. Even online savings accounts, not banks that have online websites. I'm talking about online banks that only exist online. They don't have physical infrastructure. If you say to Goldman Sachs Marcus or Ally Bank or some of these online banks, hey, I want my money. I want $2,500. Them releasing that money may take 5 business days. And so if you want something instantly, be able to do something instantly, you got to be very thoughtful as to the timeline, the timing of that intervention or ask. What about your available credit score? I'm going to do something right now that's going to help everyone on here. Hopefully, you're able to see this part as well. I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to move to what's called Savvy Money. This is what we use at the center. This is free, and it's also a soft pull, so it doesn't affect your credit score at all. And it will give you your personal credit number. Now, obviously, business credit is different than personal credit. However, at the beginning, when you're trying to establish yourself as a business, your business credit is based off of your personal credit. So this gets into, this is a TransUnion score, one of the 3 major bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And you see that it covers your report, your credit report card. It gives you grades in each of the areas that credit is checked. Payment history. Do you pay your bill on time? How much of the available credit are you using? What types of mix do you have? Do you have only loans, or do you have some credit cards? Do you have only auto loans? Do you have personal loans? Do you have a home loan? So this is the dummy account. So this is not anybody's personal information or mine. This is the dummy account set up by Savvy Money so that I can demonstrate. So credit age is on here as well. So length of credit history. Now, FICO is widely used in the marketplace. So FICO stands for Fair Isaac Corporation. Fair Isaac Corporation is FICO. 90% of all credit pulls, transactions, reporting goes through FICO. There is a Vantage 3.0. So if any of you have used Credit Karma, things like that, is using Vantage score, okay? And Vantage weights this differently. For example, payment history is 40% weighted here. So on FICO weights payment history at 35%. So Vantage score weights it 5% more. It emphasizes, hey, do you pay your bills on time more? This resource will also give you your recommended actions. So if you had a worse grade, these would be much more stinging. And I believe credit usage is the lowest grade here. And this is really important. So this dummy account demonstrates that there's $16,500 of total credit limit. But the person on one credit card, this Chase credit card, is using 99% of their available credit. So basically, if I gave you $10,000 and you were using 9,900 of that money, that's going to get you a credit hit, because reliably, good credit users should be using 30% of their available credit, their line of credit, no more than 30%. This person, on a number of instances, is using much more than 30% of their available credit, and therefore their score is lower than it has to be, even though their overall credit score is over 750, which one could argue is not that bad. But this area would be subject to pause. And if I'm a new lender, I would be concerned that this person is not managing their credit well, right? And so I might charge them a higher finance charge just in case they start missing payments. Boom, one missed payment and this person is overdrafting here. And you don't want a scenario where you're using or asking for more credit than they've made available. Now, what are your choices once this happens and you're running high like this? You can ask and request a credit line increase, but that's a slippery slope. Once you start going down that path, you might be putting yourself into more and more debt because you feel like, oh, they've given me now, they went from 10,000 to 15,000. Well, let me use $14,900 now that they're allowing me to use 15,000. But is that the trick? No. And so you, like, from a financial counselor to you, I'll tell you, you don't want to get in the trap of creating more, like pushing the goalposts back and still using all the yardage, right? You want to get into a scenario where you push the goalposts back and use less of the yardage, and your credit score will go up even higher. Okay. This resource is available to you. I will strongly urge you again to join us for personal financial coaching. That link they'll put back in the chat for you in one moment, so we can return to our wonderful PowerPoint here. All right, so available credit score. What other sources of funding are out there? We'll discuss that. Any debt or expenses, how much and for what? That's very important. If you have debt or expenses, some people have debt and expenses that are not listed on their credit report. That's very important as well. The best part about that Savvy Money platform is that it gives you your TransUnion credit report. Now, we didn't navigate to that due to time constraints, but in your personal financial coaching, once you sign up for that, we'll go over that together. We'll look at those key areas where you have accounts and to see if you have outstanding accounts or things in collections. Because, and you don't want to get those derogatory marks. You don't want to get into those types of interventions. And then lastly, what insurance do you have and what policy? And how do you maintain coverage? So this is important because people undervalue insurance until something happens and then you wind up having to foot the bill. Let's take, for instance, there are a number of people getting in car accidents who don't have insurance. What if there's a broken arm in the subject that you're responsible for having crashed into? What if there's a loss of life, even worse? What if there's even just damage to the car, right? You have to pay that. And so insurance protects you. You might have to pay a deductible and a premium and all of that, and a copay, whatever. But it's very important to have insurance to protect you. Now, I'm going to very quickly rattle off this spectrum of money. Money begins with income. It moves to planning, how you plan with what you earn. It then moves into saving, spending, borrowing, investing, and protecting. And then what we call leveling up, and then legacy, right? That's the spectrum of money. Those are all the fundamental conversations you will ever have about money. When we talk about leveling up, that's doing something what I call the American Dream Fund. And this type of thinking is supported not just by myself, but in other practices. When the SCORE representative spoke at my organization, they touted this. When I picked up Melinda Emerson's book, she touted this. So here's another resource that I strongly endorse. Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months. Now, Melinda Emerson, the way she goes by this is as a month-by-month guide to business that works, right? And so Become Your Own Boss in 12 Months, she stipulates the following things. Number one, she says you should have zero debt by the time you start your business. And I'll tell you why these things were said. She says zero debt. She says whatever salary or money you made over the last year, you should have that saved up. So if you made $60,000 a year in your last job, or if you made $110,000 a year in your last job, you should have that money saved up, that amount of money saved up in your bank account. She also says you should have 2 years of expectant revenue essentially saved up in your bank account. So if you think your business is going to have a revenue the first year of $10,000 and the second year of $40,000, you should have $50,000 on top of the other money saved up in the bank. And then she says you need a credit score of 750 or higher. That's a high bar for business ownership. The reason she says that, though, is because in the first 5 years of businesses, certainly over half fail. And some say there's some numbers that even say upwards to 80 to 90% fail. Running out of money is not just a personal financial matter. Running out of money is a business matter. We saw this through the COVID-19 pandemic. There were companies and businesses that weren't able to have that 30, 60, 90-day build out for financial resources for their employees or for their contractors or for the things they were on the hook for paying. So a number of local businesses closed, and nationally, over half of Black businesses closed. And that's just one demographic. And so we know that companies that closed were lacking resources, financial resources. And so that's when they came up with the PPP and other disaster loans in the interest of business owners through the Small Business Administration and participating banks and CDFIs. CDFI is Community Development Financial Institution. Those are more micro-lending oriented entities. So it's very critical to have your business finances, your business paperwork, your loan packaging down pat. I spoke with this past week, I spoke with the executive director president of a local CDFI. She gives out millions of dollars a year. You know what she told me? She said, Heath, one of the biggest problems that our businesses face is that they don't have their financials together. When it comes to being on the chopping block, they're chopped first. When it comes to approving a loan, they're disregarded. So that's really critical in this conversation. Insurance, credit, how much debt you're intending to run, they can all put you in a position to succeed because business lending is a very important part of the business process, business success and maintenance process. Next slide, please. As we move to close, I want you to consider some options here. So you can start your own business. I know in the state of Maryland, we have a wonderful award-winning resource called the Maryland Business Express. And you can literally Google that, Maryland Business Express, and it'll take you through every ounce of paperwork and every item you need to have at the ready when you're starting your own business. Purchasing an existing business can also be an option for you. You might say, well, I have like 50,000 to set aside. Why don't I just buy a business that's willing to sell? You can buy and then take out a loan to cover any up to as long as your credit is well, right? You can take out a loan to cover some of the other costs and expenses, and it can work successfully that way. You can become an independent consultant, and you can purchase a franchise. Purchasing a franchise can be a critical way. I told you I'd come back to it. Places like Cold Stone Creamery, right? How many of us like ice cream, right? And so purchasing a franchise like that, and location is important as well. So purchase a franchise. The way that works is a franchise already has a brand. You don't have to do anything. They already have a playbook. They already have a marketing strategy. They already have all the resources that you'll ever need to succeed. You don't have to reinvent any wheels. You don't have to invent any wheels. All right, next. Business plan. 1, 2, 3. It helps you develop ideas about how you should conduct your business. And it'll be there to help you refine those strategies, examine your company through different perspectives. It's a retrospective tool you can use to assess your company's actual performance over time. We talk a lot about process evaluation. So if we say we're going to do this 2 years later, what does it look like? Right? And a lot of times it's at that 2-year mark where you become eligible for much larger loans. Because usually, especially government-backed lenders, they like to see 2 years of financials before they give you anything substantial. So be a good cookie for 2 years, keep your books, right? Do everything you need to do to shine. And then, of course, a tool that helps you raise money. So a business plan may not only be used for loans. It can be used for business grants. It can be used in partnership for other types of government programs that are just aligned with that government program. I know that the Opportunity Zone, there used to be an Enterprise Zone effort and initiative. And so there have been different national initiatives that play out locally in local domains, and you may avail yourself for funding through those programs as well. Next slide. We'll take another minute to just go over some of these things. So different business structures and different questions you'll have to ask yourself, like how much control do you want? Do you want to be the sole owner, or do you want a business partner, or do you want this split over a number of people? Do you want to be in the business for long term? Some people just like to start up businesses and sell them. Start up businesses and sell them. And so if that's your strategy, how do you go about navigating those terrains with a business partner who might be like, this is pretty good, I don't want to sell it. And then you have to get into legal wrangling over what happens then. And some of your money's expiring because you have legal fees. And then liability. How important is it for all owners to limit personal liability for debts or claims against the business? So really critical to understand what legal form you want to establish and maintain. Maybe you start off sole proprietorship and you advance it into LLC or B Corp, C Corp status. And then taxes. Make sure you have a great accountant. So the business organization is really critical to this, and the accountants that you have will be also critical in your legal representation. So one more slide, I think. Okay, a couple more. So some capital sources. Funding is really important. Who can you turn to for funding? Family. You can turn to yourself. saved money is always the best money. I get asked all the time, what's the threshold of money I should have before trying to start a business? And I'll tell you, the number I've arrived at after the research is $25,000, anywhere from $25,000 to $100,000. Now, if you say, I just want to do an independent consultancy, all right, so we're looking at anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000. So you want that threshold to meet where you won't have to worry about running out of money every second of every day and living in desperation. There are also vendors that can help you in a cash crunch, reduce capital requirements, and of course, lenders and investors. And so a lot of times lenders look at the 5 C's, and we'll talk about that in the future when you come to some of our other programming. All right. Are there any questions so far? Any questions that were in the chat? Any questions you want to relay, Stephanie? Any questions? Are there opportunities to get help with writing a business plan? Absolutely. In fact, Live Plan is a resource that the Financial Empowerment Center has access to. There's nothing like it. It will write your business plan for you, right? And so I strongly encourage you that if you have not used Live Plan before, to consider it. I know that for us, Live Plan is a resource that we use with all in our personal small business coaching methodology. And so we're really grateful for that. And I'll just give you a brief glimpse at what Live Plan looks like.
Great. Thank you, Heath. We have a couple more questions after that as well.
No problem. And so we'll just say PCC, Project Community Connect Company, and it'll ask some various questions. And you always want to choose 2 years of monthly detail. And the reason for that is because the 2 years of monthly detail is what's required to get a lot of loans in the future. And so then we create the company. And when you create the company, it offers you the pitch opportunity, the plan, the forecast, and the dashboard. We always start with the pitch. And it gives you a wonderful video walkthrough tutorial of exactly how to refine your pitch. And it helps you write your business plan by offering, or your pitch with prompts. And that's what's so important, is your business pitch. And then the pitch is based off the business model. So you have to know what your business model is. How do you recommend I find a business mentor? Use the free resources before you at the Financial Empowerment Center. Use also the Small Business Administration. They have a wonderful toolkit available to all residents, citizens of the United States.
Fantastic. Thank you, Heath. I think of one final question.
Are there types of insurance you recommend a new business owner have? Well, certainly. You should have insurance for being personally liable. You should have just general liability insurance. You should have P&E insurance. So I know right now as a business owner, I have insurance, so I'm protected on my personal business front. And then another part of that is some of your insurance is just being good at what you do. Now, that's tongue in cheek, I know, but some of your insurance is just being good. You're a reliable resource. You are somebody who is seen as credible and successful. So all of those factor into that component. Can you just put up one last part of the slide, and that'll be it?
Sure.
One quick slide. And we'll just make sure we see that last slide real quick.
Yeah, no problem.
So thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, thank you, Heath.
All right. And so that's the closing slide. And then the one before that, very quickly. Yep, employees. So employees are very important to anybody's business plan and business model. If you go back just a slide real quick. There you go. So just beware, if you do ever have employees, that you have to pay their health insurance, paid vacation, sick days, group life, group disability insurance, as well as retirement plans. And so tap consultants on how to make that happen, especially HR consultants, talent management consultants, to help you sort of, if you're going to have a business that has employees, that you're going to manage that and mitigate that.
Thank you so much, Heath. We really appreciate you being here, and it was a pleasure to have you. Partnerships such as the one we have with the Prince George's Community College Financial Empowerment Center are critical to moving the work forward and ensuring that your United Way can meet the needs of the community, and that together we can provide the best and most needed resources for the region. So thank you for attending today's workshop. To learn more about what United Way is doing to mobilize and make bold strides until we achieve equity for all our community members, regardless of race, gender, income, and ability, please visit unitedwaynca.org/PCC. Again, that's unitedwaynca.org/PCC. Again, thank you so much, Heath. It was wonderful to be here with you today, and I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you so much, Stephanie, United Way, and everyone in attendance. Use us. Let us be leveraged.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Heath.